Every single country in the whole entire world, except for the United States, is part of an agreement that plans on doing great things for the Earth. This agreement is called the Paris Agreement. I've been really interested in the environment and how it impacts our health for almost as long as I could remember. Even last year, I took a class called the environment and how it affects our health. In this class, we learned a lot about the Paris Agreement, and I became even more interested and did a lot of research on it. I think that everyone in the world should be interested in this agreement and should want to be a part of this agreement because it affects all of us. I especially think that people who don't want to be in the agreement or don't know about it or don't care about it should especially be interested in it and should want to join it. I think that the US should reconsider joining the Paris Agreement because the Paris Agreement has great benefits for everyone's health, and it has great impacts and benefits for the environment of the world. First of all, the Paris Agreement was created by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is a treaty created in 1992 and eventually created the Paris Agreement. Now, the central goal of this agreement is to create global rise less than 2 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial times, and if it can, keep it less than 1.5 degrees Celsius rising. Now, this was created in 2015, and Donald Trump decided to pull out of it in 2017. He did this because he doesn't believe in climate change, and also he thinks that it will be bad for the economy. Now, NASA explains that climate change is definitely, in fact, real. They have many reasons because we can tell by looking back at ice cores from thousands of years ago and rocks, and we can tell all of these reasons. We have so much evidence that climate change is real. Also, from Business Insider, they state that economists all over the world think that, I guess, there could be benefits to not joining the Paris Agreement short term, but long term, it could be devastating to our economy. And that's why we should be rejoining the Paris Agreement. So although Donald Trump thinks that the agreement is bad for us and he doesn't believe in it, it's really great. And just because he doesn't want to be part of it doesn't mean that we have to also agree with him. There are other reasons that we should be a part of the agreement. First of all, our health. The Paris Agreement has a lot of impact on our environment and therefore our health. So pollution from emissions and factories and everything affects our health because there's little tiny particulates in the air that can travel inside of our lungs, and this can create things such as asthma, and these can actually be deadly, and this is because of pollution. So although we don't think about it in rural Wisconsin, in places like Milwaukee or other places that are super highly concentrated with people and cars, these things are a really big deal. Another journal from Science Direct explains that, and they found in this study, that visits in ED, emergency department rooms in hospitals, increased greatly after the day after there was a rise and a spike in pollution. There are also a lot of deaths caused by pollution. You might not think this because in the US it's a little bit lower than many other places like China and India. But WHO, the World Health Organization, states that pollution in general, so in air, soil, inside, everything, counts of at least 5.4% of all deaths in the whole entire world. This is about 4.2 million deaths. And in the US alone in 2004, 40,600 deaths alone were caused by pollution. Here I have a graph that explains the amount of deaths that will occur in 2050. This is predicted. So here is China, and it is predicted in 2050 to have as many as 200,000 deaths caused by pollution. In the US, There's not predicted to be much rise, but it is already at almost 500 million per year. Do we really want to go above that even? That's already a lot. There are already laws in place because of the Paris Agreement that aim at combating these and making it even less. So already, the Paris Agreement is doing great things, and the US really needs to consider rejoining. But your health is not the only thing that's affected. The environment is also affected greatly as well. As I noted before, the Paris Agreement aims at keeping global temperature rises less than 2 degrees Celsius. So if already the temperature has risen in the world, and as many of you have noticed, there have been a lot of hurricanes in the last year. This is higher than normal. So if temperatures continue to rise, there's going to be even more likely, and along with other natural disasters like fires. The Paris Agreement plans on combating these, and that's a good thing because these natural disasters really affect our environment. Think about all of the animals that are affected and our ecosystems that are being destroyed. Greenhouse gases are also something that will be affected by the Paris Agreement. Right now, emissions are super high and we want to make them lower. Emissions include carbon dioxide, which affects the ocean's health. Many people don't know this, but the ocean absorbs a lot of greenhouse gases, and this leads to the ocean becoming more acidic. This process is called acidification. Now, this is really bad for our oceans because our reefs are very sensitive. And our reefs, as many of you know, are the basis of many ecosystems, such as fish and many just marine life. So if these reefs die, then slowly the fish will die and everything that eats the fish will die also, like seals. Seals also live on land. So the things that are affected in the ocean also are climbing onto our lands, and our oceans aren't the only thing that are being affected. This is explained in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NASA even explains that the ocean has become 30% more acidic since pre-industrial times. Nutrition is also something that is being affected by greenhouse gases. In our crops, as explained in my graph here, the nutrition values are declining, and this is what it is predicted to be at around 2050. So at the most, wheat will be 9.3% less nutritious, and that is something that is really surprising, and it's already occurring now. So the Paris Agreement plans on combating this. To conclude, the US should really consider joining the Paris Agreement. The US should consider rejoining the Paris Agreement because there are many health benefits that affect everyone on Earth and environmental benefits that will impact our Earth itself. So the US continues to be the only country in the United States that's not a part of this agreement. Some might say this is good, but would you be proud